I used to believe people who ruined their marriages were cruel or careless.
I used to think people who wrecked their own marriages were either cruel or careless. I never thought I'd become one of them. A few years ago, my husband and I were solid, unbreakable. That's what makes this so painful to admit. My name is Claire, and this is how I destroyed the best thing in my life without meaning to. I met Ethan in my mid-20s. He had this calm confidence that made me feel safe. He really listened like my words mattered. Our relationship grew slowly, built on long talks and shared routines. Marrying him felt like coming home. Our early years were happy, not perfect, but real. He supported my career, celebrated my wins, and stood by me through failures. I knew he loved me deeply, and I loved him too. Or at least I thought I did. Over time, comfort replaced excitement. Stability replaced surprise. Ethan was steady, and I started confusing that steadiness with boredom. I didn't talk to him about it. I just carried this quiet restlessness inside. Then Daniel entered our lives. He was a friend of a friend, charming, the kind of man who made you feel noticed. At first, it was harmless conversation, but slowly the lines blurred. Text messages became more frequent, more personal. I found myself smiling at my phone, hiding it when Ethan walked into the room. I told myself it wasn't really cheating. I hadn't touched him. I used that excuse like a shield, but emotionally I had already stepped away from my marriage. The guilt was constant, but instead of stopping, I buried it. Ethan noticed I was distant. He planned surprises, asked if I was okay, offered support. Every act of kindness just made me feel worse. Instead of confessing, I withdrew even more. The turning point came when I lied about working late to meet Daniel. Sitting with him, I felt both exhilarated and terrified. I knew this was a point of no return. What I felt wasn't love. It was just an escape. I never got to decide how far it would go. Ethan found the messages. He didn't scream. He just looked at me like he didn't recognize me anymore. That look still haunts me. When he confronted me, I tried to explain, to minimize it. But the words sounded hollow. He listened quietly and then said that trust, once broken, never comes back the same. A few days later, he asked for a divorce. Losing him felt unreal. The house was empty, the silence deafening. I watched the life I had built collapse because of choices I made, one small step at a time. Daniel faded away quickly. When things got complicated, he was gone. That's when I understood the difference between excitement and commitment, between attention and love. But by then, it was too late. The months that followed were brutal. I started therapy, not to win Ethan back, but to understand why I was willing to risk everything for something so temporary. I learned my need for validation came from insecurities I'd ignored for years. I learned that boredom is never a reason to betray someone who loves you. Ethan eventually moved on and found happiness again, knowing that brings both relief and heartbreak. He deserves it. I just wish I hadn't been the one to teach him how easily trust can be shattered. I still believe in love and commitment, but now I understand their weight. Love isn't just passion. It's a choice, it's restraint, and it's honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. If I could talk to my past self, I'd tell her that betrayal doesn't start with a kiss. It starts with secrecy, with silence, with choosing not to protect what you claim to value. I'd tell her the thrill fades, but the consequences last. I live with those consequences every day. All I can do now is be honest, learn, and hope that someday I become worthy of the kind of love I once had and didn't know how to keep. Thank you for listening to my story. If you're struggling, please know you're not alone and support is available. I've left some resources in the description below.